Now, the interest of writing this book came from this very stark realization that grossly, when you look at talent in the corporate world, I think it is grossly underutilized. I've done more than 600 workshops with close to 200 firms over the last 20 years. And when I walk into the organizations, I quickly understand that people are busy politicizing than really getting gigantically shortchanged by the same corporate structure where they went in. And if they could only really develop on what they invested for the first 20 years of their life in terms of working and learning, they'll be far better off. And once somebody retires at the age of 60, then you start realizing that how petty these battles were. But once you're into that, they become sort of existential crisis for all of you. Just to give you a perspective, I was in this very same place in 2020, a month before, just downstairs, a month before the massive lockdown. And I was remembering that in the midst of the lockdown, the only thing that mattered to us is that will I see tomorrow morning? Am I right? Will I see my parents tomorrow morning? And not all of us are very fortunate because many of people have lost their loved ones. So in the midst of the pandemic 2020, 2021, the only thing that mattered to us was I should see tomorrow. My loved ones must see tomorrow. And here we are sitting right now without masks, without any of those cautions that we were bred into. And suddenly what matters to us is our promotion. Correct? So from a moment where we were on the bottommost rung of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is physiological, now we are almost there at the pretty much at the top of the rung where we talk about self-actualization and self-esteem. So that's how fleeting our priorities are. But when we go to the corporate, I realize that some of the best laid plans, people with the best intentions in their heart and mind are getting underutilized. And for the longest time, people are not even sure of why am I here. So in this book, so that's been the motivation that if I can offer people some insight on how do we navigate our lives. Because think about that. If you live till the age of 75, 27 years of your life, you are either sleeping or trying to sleep. The second thing out of that is working, which means that minus sleeping, the highest amount of time that you spend in your entire life, if you live till the age of 75, is actually working or preparing to work. And that's the reason why your career can't be an element of accident. And I don't mean career as something that you do till the age of 60. I mean career you do till the age you live, because you need to occupy yourself meaningfully. So that's been the motivation of my second book. So this is my second book, Design Your Career, and my first book was called Design Your Thinking, which was published by Penguin in 2020. Building on this, and I'll just pass it back to Maria. If you have to really think about that in terms of why we need to pay attention to your career, the simple fact is that it can't be an element of accident. You can't have an accidental career. You can start accidentally, but you should not finish accidentally. That's extremely critical. So in this book, what I've attempted to do is I've called out insights from the world of arts, sports, military, literature, medicine, warfare, and what have you, and try to understand that how people have been navigating their careers in a very systematic manner. And to begin with, a question that I have for all of you is this: that when we talk about career, which is not something that happens on a Monday morning, career is happening as we are sitting right now on the Saturday noon. Look at your prime drivers. What motivates you? What's your key driver? Now, for a fair amount of people, the key driver is fear. That if I don't punch in by 8:30, I lose half day's attendance. If I don't show up on time, I'll be missing out on this meeting. And if my boss doesn't sign off the meeting, I can't sign off. And fear is a great motivator. In fact, the very fact that we have survived as a species and we are sitting here in the room right now is because our ancestors were very, very paranoid. Very, very paranoid. And that's why fear is a big motivator. But if fear is your motivation to have a career, the only problem is that it exhausts you very quickly. The second motivation that you can possibly have is greed. And I don't talk about greed in the city of startups because many startups are not driven by fear as much as by greed. I need to make, and if I don't make, somebody else will make it. And we have been bred into, thanks to our education system, it's a zero-sum game, which is not certainly, life is not a zero-sum game. People can win en masse. So greed. The problem with greed is that you never know what is enough. So fear is a motivation, greed is a motivation, and I will urge you to understand what is the motivation for your own career. Is it fear or greed? The third motivation is duty. You're doing your career just because there is a duty, and you have to walk into an ICU, walk into a hospital in the middle of the night. That the people, especially the paramedic staff, is not there because of fear or greed. I'm sure about it. It's a sense of duty. But the problem with duty is that in duty there is a sense of reciprocity, that I must do it so that I can get something in return. Unfortunately, even many of the loved relationships dilute into a sense of duty. So you have fear, greed, duty. But the most pious, I believe, and the rarest of it is when you're doing your career out of sheer love. So fear is if I don't do it. Greed is if I do it. Duty is I should do it. Love is I just do it. And if you can identify some element of love, I'm not saying 8 hours of your day has to be love. I don't think it is true for anybody. Nobody can have 8 hours of day as a love, but some amount of that day has to be love. If I go back to the writing journey of the book, I had all the four drivers propelling me. Fear. The fear that I had for the longest time is that what if I'm not able to finish the book? What if some of the best ideas which I have in my life, I die them with? I had a sense of greed that I would like the book to reach corners, and my honestly this might sound very um, sort of parochial, but I strongly believe that as an author, my intent at least is to shape people's thinking. I really want to influence the way people think, and I think that's the highest call. So that's been the greed. The duty, and that's why my editorial team was fantastically at it. My duty was to ensure that I turn the manuscript on time. And as I was talking to my friend Sputnik, it's extremely critical that you are disciplined in your writing journey. But love, you can navigate the gravity of the remaining three if you truly love what you're trying to do. So that's been the key message of the book, and what I want to convey to all of you sitting over here is that consider your career seriously, because career is your immortality project. Uh, Art was the second best thing to mortality, but career is the first, which I strongly believe. So yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, so I would just want to indulge you for about a minute or two talking about what what took me to this particular juncture of time. So after graduating from NITI Mumbai, which is now IIM Mumbai in 2004, I came to Bangalore. My first job was in Wipro, and I spent about 6 years working there, and I was totally, I can use the word dissatisfied, for the simple reason that I was never ever living to my fullest potential. I would be doing extensively, which is now called as moonlighting, but I would definitely want to leave the campus as quickly as 5 o'clock and go out and teach. And I would look forward to my weekends, because Saturday, Sunday, instead of hitting forum, I'll go and teach at various colleges for some very small change, but that learning was very critical for me. And then I started realizing that I was looking forward to my Sundays and Saturdays, not Mondays. And that's the first inkling that you have that maybe you're at a wrong place. And that's where I started writing my GMAT. So while sitting at Wipro, I would write TOEFL, I would write GMAT, and I would apply to 25 colleges across the world. Out of 25 colleges, and I spent 4 lakh rupees in application fee alone, while very much in the company. And the only person who knew that I'm doing it was my boss. His name is Vikesh Mehta. He knew it. Nobody else in the company had any inkling what I was up to. And then out of 25 colleges where I applied to, spending 4 lakh rupees, 24 colleges rejected me. And the beauty of these rejections in the PhD program is they don't feel the need to explain. They just give you one word answer: reject. And then you send an email, then the email bounces. So that's the end of the story. 24 rejections. And it was really disheartening, because by then I had mentally resigned from Wipro. I was no longer mentally, emotionally there. The only college I applied to in this country was IIM Bangalore. Because I was pretty clear that if I will be in India, I'll be in Bangalore. If I wouldn't be in Bangalore, I wouldn't be in India. And I was lucky enough that I got to the campus. But this thing was bothering me, that why did I get 24 rejections? So after joining IIM Bangalore on 2nd of April 2011 was the interview. And 2nd of April 2011 is also famous for another big reason. In case somebody knows that, that was the day in which we lifted the World Cup. So we had, all of us in our cohort had this thinking that we'll clear PhD World Cup to World Cup. as anybody who has gone through the PhD would now laugh at this whole idea that you can't finish a PhD in 4 years. You'll be lucky 5, tremendously lucky 4, but quite impossible but for that. And I was very clear that I want to do my PhD in this topic and I want to be a teacher. From the day one of my PhD program, I really want to be a teacher. And that's where I got into the PhD program and I was totally disillusioned about what a PhD program is, in case anybody is entertaining that thought. So the first thing that you get from into the PhD program is you think that you know what you want to do a PhD on, and everybody should just get out of your way, and you should do your PhD work. And then I was introduced to something called the coursework. And in the coursework, we are really gone to the brass tacks of what it is to be a researcher, an academician, doing a PhD. I hated it, but now I think this was the best investment of time that I could ever have had. The best investment. In those 2 years, we read some of the most amazing stuff written in the last century and a century before that, which is completely out of print today. 2 years of the rigor that we had, and then we got into the piece of the PhD program, all sitting in the library. Yeah. And halfway down, I realized that doing a full-time academic role might be a thing that I can do at 55. So why not start a company? And midway down the PhD, the company happened. In the company, what happened was, why not be an author? And then the authoring happens. So what I want, the only advice which I want you to have is make your life a portfolio of career and not a career. Never have a career, have a portfolio of career. Because if you have a career, your hopes, aspirations, happiness, and sadness is pivoted to that career. And I think if you can have a portfolio, that will be useful for all of us. That's about it.